Good morning, and welcome to video 4 of A Piece for Peace. If you remember 4 weeks ago, in the wake of what happened to George Floyd and the eruption in North America, it was an emotional time, and we said here that one of the things that we could do is to create a space on Monday mornings as the week starts to cultivate our sense of empathy so that we could understand what it means to sympathize with people who are suffering and eventually get ourselves to a place where change could not just begin to take root, but actually move forward. Nobody's under any illusions that 4 short videos are going to change the world, but that's what we are going to, hopefully finish up today and pick it up again in the fall. The bottom line about today's message is precisely that. The bottom line today is about getting to the bottom line. There's not a lot of graphics. We're going to talk in words, and we're going to make it as short and direct as possible so that we can get to where we need to be. Because as we said in the very first video, teaching peace is a process that we all bring our own baggage to. So today's video is divided into 3 neat parts. The first is an explanation about all of the different comments that you have. There are videos, there are sermons, and there are links to some images, and I'll get to that in a second. The middle piece is I just want to talk to you briefly about the lessons of the 2 sermons that are linked in the comments and what they are, and then to leave us with some parting thoughts about our Canadian context, because it's different than the United States. Racism is universal, but the way it plays out is very contextual. It's very society dependent, and so I want to talk to you about that. Okay. So the first thing I want to say to you is if you look in the comments below, and there are 7 of them, what you have there are the 3 previous videos that lead up to this one, so that if you want to see them back to back to back, and you have the time or the inclination to do that, then you get the complete message of what the last 4 weeks has been about. The second collection are links to 2 sermons that form the message today, and I would invite you to go look at those. And then the last comes with a bit of a parental warning, not suitable for children. They contain images designed to shock you, not out of offense, but to shock you in the sense of to wake us up. Not much different than going to the Holocaust Museum would be very shocking to sensitize me to a truth that I have not seen or has been suppressed, and I need to be shocked out of that comfort zone. So those images are there to supplement the message of the 2 sermons. The 2 sermons, and what are they about? Those 2 sermons, the first is about Hagar and the well, and if you don't know the Bible, just go Google it. It'll be quick. Hagar in the well, it's from the Old Testament, and Hagar and her son are in the desert, and they're looking for a well, and all of a sudden their perspective on life and its challenges and its solutions change, and they see life-giving water. The message out of that is that without a change in perspective, there can be no life, right? We will spiritually and eventually even physically die if we don't understand how to keep ourselves well. So that's the first message. And the second comes from the book of Matthew, and it's where Jesus teaches this very central teaching. It's a fundamental new teaching in the world when he shares it, and it is this: anybody who chooses to try and save their life will lose it. Anyone who is willing to risk their life for the gospel, meaning the greater good, will actually save it. And there's this whole understanding there about a collectivity and teaching and master and a reversal about what it really means to learn. And the message that I get out of that sermon is that it's not just enough to see somebody. I need to invite them to the table to teach me as I want to move forward. right? It's not just about depending on the experts. It's also depending on the lived experience of people. So those two things are the messages that I want us to carry forward today, thanks to my two friends from the Black Clergy Network who posted them yesterday. And so, in our closing thoughts, I leave you with this thought about where we are in our Canadian perspective. Because we're not the United States, and we don't express ourselves publicly in the same way. That's got some pluses, but it's got some minuses too. Canadians are renowned for being very polite and very organized and orderly people. We're nice. Canadians are nice. And yet, underneath all of that niceness, a lot of very not nice things have happened in our history that we are having a really hard time acknowledging. Bottom line is that I'm really happy as a Canadian, I hope you are too, that the Prime Minister took a knee at Black Lives Matter. And I'm really happy, and I hope that you are too, that the Prime Minister has chosen to defend Jagmeet Singh so that we can take a look at all of the rules in Parliament, hopefully, that perpetuate this niceness, which has its purpose, but right now is not serving us well because it suppresses truth. And that's what that debate's all about. I hope you're happy about that. But I also hope that you'll join me and others as I am being told that this is really something that we've heard years and years and years and years and years and years before in our churches, in our governments, in our towns, in our families, in our media, that there's this Canadian call for patience and discussion and dialogue, and when is enough enough? We started this video series saying that if I didn't change my heart, I could not actually change. If I didn't change my heart as a human being, I could not embrace the heart and struggles of another. And the niceness and the politeness, it acts as a shroud that covers all of this. So I have a question for us, all of us. How is our perspective changing with all of the truth that's coming out? How is it changing? Has it made us harder? Has it made us softer? Has it made us angrier? Has it made us cry? It doesn't matter exactly right now anyway where it has. If it's made you harder, then you perhaps want to take a look at that. If it has made you angrier, you perhaps want to take a look at that. But we all need to get in touch with how we're changing our perspective, because it's impossible that our perspective isn't being changed. How's your perspective changing? Because it really is about this process. Invite us to take some time to really sit with that over the next weeks. Change is possible with change in perspective. It'll change the way you vote. It'll change the way you speak. It'll change the way you risk getting involved in your local organizations, political parties, churches, schools, community organizations. It'll change the nature of your conversations with your friends, your neighbors, and even your family. It'll change the nature of conversations that you have with yourself. It'll just change. And that change is what carries us forward. It's the letting go. It's the message of a change of perspective that shows you the life-giving well. It's the message of change that says that to see is not enough, that you have to risk a part of who you are for the greater good in order that we all don't lose everything that we've worked so hard over the years to achieve. There can be no justice if somebody is excluded. There can be no justice if we are not all given the opportunity to pick up what's ours and do our part. There can be no justice if people just sit home and do nothing and take it for granted. My brothers and my sisters, I cannot tell you what an honor and a privilege it's been to be with you these past 4 weeks. It's done me a lot of good, even though it's not always been personally easy in my own heart. Thank you for tuning in. And I thank you for being part of a movement that believes in the greater good. We can do this. Be blessed. Be a blessing.